Welcome to The Creative Influencer, where we discuss all things creative with an emphasis on influencers. The Creative Influencer is hosted by John Pfeiffer. John is an entertainment attorney in Santa Monica, California, who represents influencers and other creatives.
This is episode 2 of the 9th season of the Creative Influencer Podcast. Today, we interview Mark Laita. Mark is the creator and host of the Soft White Underbelly YouTube channel. Prior to starting the channel, he was a successful advertising photographer for over 40 years. Mark has a fascination with people living alternative lifestyles and decided to start interviewing and documenting their stories, which has led to the creation of the popular YouTube channel, which has 6 million subscribers. Mark has conducted nearly 9,000 interviews over the past 6 years and has a unique ability to get people to open up and share deeply personal stories, even about topics like addiction and murder. This is normally where I say enjoy the episode, but I think this is going to be more enjoy the listen. It is a fascinating story. I am joined today by Mark Laita. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, John.
And you have a YouTube channel called Soft White Underbelly.
Yes.
As of last night, it had 5.98 million subscribers.
I think during this call it'll probably hit 6 million.
Cool. Then I'll just put it at 6.
Yeah, it's gonna be 6 in a couple of minutes.
You have a pretty substantial Instagram following, a pretty substantial TikTok following. And I want to ask you about your channel, and I want to ask you about.
And then Facebook is the same size as YouTube almost. So.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you were interviewed by Joe Rogan, and I want to end with that because not everybody's been interviewed by Joe Rogan. So let's start from the beginning. Where are you from originally?
I was born in Detroit, and then a year before, right around the year the Tigers won the World Series, which was '68, we moved to Chicago.
And then
how long? I lived in Chicago until I was 26. So I really think of myself as a Chicagoan.
Okay. And then what was your occupation before you started the channel?
An advertising photographer.
For how many years did you do that?
Since I was fresh out of I went to college, but I was really into doing that kind of stuff from as a teenager up until around 59 years old. I'm 64.
What made you decide to leave advertising and start a channel?
It just, advertising got stale for me. The industry had changed. It was changing and has continued to change. Technology wasn't really good for people like me. I was at top of the food chain of photographers that did what I did, and I charged whatever I wanted to, and it was a really great career. I'm really proud of that. Probably what I'm proudest of in my life. But other than my family, but it was changing and just the clients no longer wanted the best of the best. They just wanted something that looked good on a phone.
Yeah.
And it just there was no reason to be the Rolls Royce of what I did because everyone wanted the Honda Civic.
And then you started Soft White Underbelly. What was the beginning? What's the origin story of that channel?
Well, even when I was a teenager in Chicago, I'd be downtown and I remember being down there with my parents, or when I was driving, I was downtown a lot. So I was a suburban kid. I lived in Elmhurst, the suburbs of Chicago, 20 minutes, half an hour out of downtown. But I was downtown almost every day, especially after I got a little bit older. And I remember as a teenager, I'd see these homeless, just the interesting characters that are just on the streets. I remember seeing a bunch of homeless, probably alcoholics that had their bottle of whatever in a paper bag and they're just sleeping on a park bench. And I'm like, man, that is the craziest shit ever. because I have a great family. I had a great family, great childhood. My parents loved me to death. My mom especially. My dad did too, but he had a very different style, probably more classic fathering style for the 60s. But it was, I've always been fascinated with these people that live these very alternate lives, very, very alternative lifestyles.
Where did the name come from? The name for the channel?
I could answer that like 3 or 4 different ways. I mean, there's a band called Blue Oyster Cult. Their original name was Soft White Underbelly. So I remember hearing it there. But before that, I remember hearing my dad, who was a sales rep for industrial racks in the Midwest. And I remember hearing my dark room was close to his office. So I could hear through the wall him making his sales calls. And I remember him saying to somebody, I heard him say it more than once, oh, that's the soft underbelly of the situation, or of the whatever he was describing. Meaning the most vulnerable, that's the weakest link. That's the weakest. It's synonymous kind of with the weakest link, or the most vulnerable part.
I had not heard the Blue Oyster Cult used to be called that.
Yeah, I mean, it was before they became anything. Yeah. I think they were just a bar band at the time.
So I was watching the intro video that you have on your channel, and you were saying
it's a great name though, and I'll go back to the name. It's a great name, and it makes people go, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
So it's not about like it has to have some really great meaning. It's like, it's just an interesting name.
So I was listening to your intro video. You were talking about that the videos were meant to create awareness on wealth inequities, education inequities, opportunity inequities. How much has that played into where your interviewees are those inequities?
There's this web of all these things that are all combined, but the majority of the stories you hear on my channel, but not all, because I'm branching out now and you're getting all kinds of stuff. My last interview I did before we started here was with 2, they're now fentanyl addicts, but they were alcoholics and they were other types of addicts, but they both came from great childhoods, especially the husband. And they're a couple living on the street. They've lost their kids. They've lost everything. They're just living in a tent on the street, addicted to fentanyl. And it's like, how does that happen to somebody who's like got their, had a great childhood and all that? But it happens. These drugs are like quicksand, and you set your foot in it, and you're just pulled in, and you can't pull out sometimes. But those are some of the stories. I'm also doing sometimes especially starting out, I did a lot of gang members. So those aren't necessarily drug stories, or sex workers, same thing, not necessarily drug stories. So whether it's really just all different forms of self-destruction. Like, a lot of people like you and me, John, we love to self-destruct.
Oh, I get it.
We like to destroy our relationships. We like to destroy our health. We like to destroy our financial situation, everything. It's just
at one level or another.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably why my channel has such a large audience, is because I think a lot of people relate to these stories in one way or another. You don't to me, the most fascinating, I've never done drugs, so I don't even know about these drug addict stories. I can't relate to them at all. It's really my family or friends are laughing, why are you doing drug addict stories? You're like the last guy. So I don't know why I'm doing that. But to me, the gambler stories, so I've interviewed gamblers who have just destroyed everything, their marriages, they're broke, they've lost their homes, they've lost their families, they've lost everything for gambling. And it's that's fascinating to me, because if there's one vice I kind of have, it's probably I like risk. I like things that are risky. I don't go to Vegas, or I don't gamble, but I like risky things in my life. This project is probably a good example of
that. We'll get into first the playlist, and then the 3 most popular in terms of views videos. But how do you find people that you're going to interview?
Well, I started out doing it, many, many years before I started Soft White Underbelly. I had a studio down on Skid Row. When I had an advertising studio in Culver City, which is basically the heart of LA, I realized I wanted to do something that was a little more personal, something that I really loved to do, because advertising was just getting a little stale for me. So I got a little studio on Skid Row, and I would set it up there, and I would just go down there and find people on the street to do portraits of, just portraits. Because I'm a photographer. I'm not a videographer. I'm not an interviewer. But then after a while, Canon came out with these cameras that did video,
right?
And it was pretty good quality. And I just started playing around doing some interviews, and the first like dozen or so that I did, they were really fascinating. And the first one I did was, I don't know if it was the first one, but one of the first ones I did was just, oh my God, that's like a movie. That was an interview with Caroline, who's people that watch my channel regularly will know. She's a heroin addict prostitute on Skid Row. And it was just like, wow, that's really something. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm not a videographer, so I can't really do anything with it. I don't think YouTube existed then. And it was just like, well, that's interesting. But I just put it down for a while, and I kind of got back into it, back and forth. And then in I phased out of advertising. I gave up my studio in Culver City, and I was like, what am I going to do now? What do I do now with my life? I could retire. I could do what other people my age do, but I'm not really a typical person my age. So I started this, and I remember that I loved doing these portraits and interviews on Skid Row. So I just got another studio on Skid Row, and I just started doing them every day. I've done it every day for like 5.5 years now. It'll be 6 years in April.
Hey,
and
go ahead.
And I just started doing interviews. I was doing like 6, 7, 8, 9 a day, every day, and just 7 days a week, all year long. I would just keep doing them, and I would pick out the ones that are the most interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't posting everything. I'll do 5, 6, 7, 8 in a day, and I'll use maybe 2 or 1 or maybe sometimes 3 if I get lucky. And I started posting them up on YouTube, and I swear I didn't think a dozen people were going to find this stuff interesting. I never really watched YouTube, so I didn't know anything about it. But then I learned pretty quickly, like there's a lot of people that watch this kind of stuff, and my channel just took off, and I remember hitting 1,000 subscribers, and like, that's crazy. And then I hit like 20,000, I remember, and then I hit 100,000, and I hit 1 million so fast, it was crazy.
Now, I read last night where more people watched election coverage on YouTube than on the news networks.
Yeah, no, YouTube's a very powerful platform.
Yeah.
It's a really good platform too.
Hey, have you ever had issues with YouTube's community guidelines?
Yeah, like every day, every day, every day. Right now,
okay,
I'm having.
I want to get back to playlists.
Yes.
You have, as of last night, 900.
So back to your story with the community guidelines.
Yeah.
People, I see people look at they'll make comments on my channel. Oh, he's just making bank. He's making all this money off all these homeless people. They don't realize that if the story has anything to do with sex or sex work or anything like that, it gets demonetized.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with my channel, that's most of my story. So a lot of my videos get demonetized.
Well, actually, yes. Last night I was looking on playlists, and there are 453 interviews under the playlist "Sex Workers."
Yeah.
Those are all demonetized.
Yeah, and so
interviews under addiction and homelessness.
Some of those will get monetized. A lot of them will.
And the playlist that I found the most fascinating was 80 videos under Appalachia.
Yeah.
It's like, I grew up in Nebraska, so it just,
yeah, I love, like, I grew up in Detroit and Chicago, and my family would drive straight south to Florida. Usually one time we went to New Orleans, but I remember driving through Kentucky, and it was my favorite part of the trip to just I was fascinated when you go through I don't know what route my dad would take. I was asking him recently, and I don't remember he didn't even remember what highway we took, but I remember going through some of the side roads, and you'd see all these dilapidated shacks with all the garbage just strewn down the side of the hill.
Right.
And I'm just like, look at that. It's kind of like the very similar to the homeless alcoholic I would see on the streets in Chicago. It's like, I was just fascinated with it. Like, who lives like that?
Yeah.
And what's that person like? And what do they talk like? And what do they do for money? And like, I want to know all these stories. So that's basically what I'm doing now. I find people interesting.
I remember growing up and seeing those kind of houses, but they would always have a TV antenna.
Yeah. No, but like a lot of these people, still to this day, don't have electricity. They don't have running water.
Yeah.
They don't have heat. They don't
How
have.
do you build when you start, because it's not your normal interviewing. How do you build trust with your subjects?
I don't. That's a great question. I don't know what exactly I do, but I realized quickly that I'm doing something right. And I knew this even before I started this project. I would sit with clients. I remember this one, like it might have been a boyfriend, not a boyfriend, but a friend of a boyfriend of my sister's who was like a biker, not a Hell's Angel biker, but a but a biker, nonetheless. And he's just like, he would sit down with me, even though I was a little kid, and I had a way, something about my personality made him feel like I wasn't judging him, made him feel like really relaxed, and just like he just started telling me all this personal shit about his childhood and his life,
Yeah.
and confiding all this stuff that most people would never ever share with a stranger. So I've always had something about my personality that helps people open up. I don't know what it is, and to this day, after doing all, I've done like almost 9,000 interviews now. I don't know what I have. I don't know what it is,
I
but
mean, it's something because I mean, what is your view, other than that they're comfortable with you, on why some of the people will open up and say some of the things that you would never tell to your closest friend?
yeah, I mean, like I think a lot, whether you've done the most horrific things in the world, like murder. I've had people admit to murdering somebody on my channel. And when you have deep, dark secrets, you can't, it's very, very difficult to keep it inside. And you don't, and sometimes you never get an opportunity to talk about it. So you have to just keep it inside, and it eats at you. So all of a sudden I bring them into the studio and there's nobody around. It's just silent. I'm just sitting here listening to you. You're going to talk. I'm not going to interrupt you. And that gives them, it's like a forum for them to just say whatever they want to say, and they'll unload with stuff they've never talked about. I have so many interviews where people said, I've never talked about that before in my life.
Have you ever felt threatened by a guest?
I had that one guy pull a gun on me. No, when they're in that, what's that?
I take that as a yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was one rare time, but even then I wasn't, I mean, yeah, I mean, that was no fun. But I think when people are in this situation, the cameras are on them and it's all about them. That's not a situation where they're going to do something to hurt me, and I'm not really here to hurt anybody. So I'm not doing anything to piss anybody off.
Right.
Like like I've done so many thousands of interviews, and no one's ever really come back and say, just to come back with me with having a problem with what I did. I didn't edit it to make them look like a fool. I didn't take out the part where they said something to make them look good. Like I try not to edit anything out. I try to treat them with respect. I give them their dignity. I light them in a way that makes them look flattering, I hope. And it's like I'm honoring these people, and these people are rarely honored. They're rarely looked at in this way. So I think by doing that, it's giving them a little bit of respect, which they rarely get.
Last night I watched part of a prison interview. How do you get permission to film in prison?
It's difficult, but if you're persistent, you can sometimes make things happen. I get, like now that my channel is very popular, I get people emailing me all the time. I have Noelle, my assistant, who just goes through the emails. That's all she does, is goes through emails and finds this one's interesting, that one's interesting. You may want to consider this one, and I'll go through those ones that she'll pick out. And I think there's a couple. You're probably talking about the ones I did in Kentucky. Somebody that works he's a jailer, or he works in the prison or jail. It's a jail. Emailed me and said, "Hey, you want to do interviews here?" And I'm like, "Hell yes, I do." And I was actually coming out there like in a few weeks. So we decided. I've been there twice doing that there. I love shooting in jails and prisons especially.
Do you have why is that?
Well, every single person in that prison has a story.
Yeah.
Every single one. And they would love to share it because they don't really typically share their stories too much.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite guest you've had?
I I mean, I really love everybody I've interviewed. I love them. It's like saying which of your kids is your favorite. But
That's what I was thinking as I was asking that question.
yeah, but there are certain guests that are just incredible storytellers. Incredible, like some of the best. I mean, that's really sometimes what I feel like what I'm doing is just capturing great storytelling. You know, I could name about 6 things I feel like I'm doing, and some days I feel like I'm just capturing storytelling. Other days I feel like I'm informing the world about things that are screwed up about our society, and sometimes I'm, you know, helping people or whatever. But my favorite people I've interviewed, I mean, or maybe the best storytellers, like Michael Dowd, the corrupt cop in New York City, is a magnificent storyteller. You want to see great storytelling? That first video that Mike did, which has millions and millions of views, it's the best storytelling you could ever find. It's just the best.
Yeah.
And Mike is a great dude now. He's like he was in prison, did his time and all that, and he just talks about what he did and how he did it and how he felt. You know, and when he came in to the studio, I said, hey, rather than me asking you all these dumb questions, like where are you from? What was your childhood like? How'd you grow up? What made you want to become a cop? All these stupid interruptions that can you just tell this story without me saying a single word? He goes, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And you know, he's a New Yorker and he knows how to tell a story. So he just I just sat back and let him go. Didn't say a word until the very end. And I said, thank you. And that was it. And it's magnificent. I think it's still to this day, it's probably my favorite. I mean, also there's another, an FBI agent named Giovanni Rocco who did a 4-hour talk on my channel. And that's another very similar, little different style of storytelling, but oh my God, the best 4 hours you could ever spend. If you're into that kind of content of like, you know, cops and robbers and that kind of stuff, it's magnificent. Great storytelling.
So I picked, for this next series of questions, I picked the top 3 subjects, I guess, that got the most views. The first one is the inbred family, the Whitakers, had 43 million views.
Wow.
How did you find them?
How did I find them?
Yeah, oh, by the way, and then I'll let you off in talking. There are 17 interviews with that family or with family related to them.
17?
17.
Are you sure?
Well, unless YouTube lied to me last night.
Well, maybe they're including shorts. Maybe I did some shorts too, but I don't really count shorts as anything. Shorts are like ads for my videos, basically. But I've done at least a dozen. I know that. My first book, which was a collection of American portraits, I went to each of the lower 48 states, and I was in West Virginia. This was about in 2004, and I was in like a gas station, truck stop, something like that, and there was a cop in there, and I went up to him and told him what I'm doing, and he goes, "Oh, I could help you. I know all kinds of interesting people." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, I get off at 2:00. You want to meet me here?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll meet you right here at 2:00." So he goes, "I'm going to show you some crazy stuff." So we meet him at 2:00, and he shows us some really great people that I, talked into letting me photograph them. And then it started raining really hard, and we just couldn't even. It's so muddy. It's so rough there. It's just like you couldn't do anything. So we left, and I said, "I'll be back in like 2 weeks." And he says, "Make sure when you come back, bring video cameras." And I'm like, "Well, I don't shoot video." So this is 2004. I wasn't shooting video.
Yeah.
And I just kind of said, okay. So whatever. I come back 2 weeks later, and he takes us down this windy road, and we're driving through the woods, and it's a dirt road, and it's gravel, and then it's barely a road. And we come around this bend, and there's a motorhome on one side, and it looks like a dilapidated shack across the street. And it's like that scene in Deliverance with the little kid.
Yeah.
Times 10. There's all these people running around. The people are barking. Some of them are just staring, drooling at you. Their eyes are going off in different directions. Nobody's got a tooth in their head. It's the craziest shit you've ever seen. Like, it's hard to believe this existed in America. And it's a long story, which I think I tell on that Joe Rogan podcast. It was a major feat just to get the photograph, but I did get, I got most of the family to allow me to photograph them for that book. So now that was 2004. So you go back now we move it forward to like probably 2020, 2021. I'm in West Virginia again. I'm like, hey, and I said to Axel, who was my assistant, the same guy I was with when I did that the first time back in 2004. They said, you want to, let's go say hi to the Whitakers. I'm like, oh yeah, we're not too far away. So we drive over and we say hi to them. And now I've got an iPhone in my pocket and it's got a video, a pretty good video camera on it. I'm like, that was not my intention to shoot a video for my channel. If you look at the way it's shot, it doesn't look like anything for my channel. So I didn't even have a portrait. The portrait I used from the 2004 shoot. So it really didn't, like all my videos have a portrait in them. And that's really the most important part of the video for me. So my intention by shooting this video was not to put on my channel. It was just to kind of show my friends because they're all fascinated with the Whitakers. They want to see what they look like and sound like and all that. And so I walk up and I'm shooting this video. And then as I'm shooting it, I realize, you know what, maybe I just need to loosen the rules that I give myself in this channel and just relax them a little bit. And maybe this would be interesting content. And I just continued to shoot it. And I just kind of sat there with my phone. And then when it was all done, I'm watching it as we're driving back to the airport. I'm like, this could actually work on my channel. And I could use the portrait from 2004, and this could actually work. So I get back to LA and I edit it and I post it, and that sucker's got 43 million views now. It's crazy.
I mean, one of the favorite ones of that group is the Walmart shopping trip.
Yeah.
Take them to Walmart.
Yeah, I tend to be generous with the people I interview. I mean, I try to control my spending, but basically every dollar I make on this channel goes back into the people you see on the channel. So I've given them lots of stuff, and I just thought it'd be fun to document rather than just me handing them some cash. Let's take them to Walmart and get them whatever they want.
Yeah.
And they were pretty respectful about it. They didn't exploit the situation, the fact that I was buying whatever they wanted. I told them, just get whatever you want.
Yeah. No,
So I think the bill came to like, I forget how much we spent. I thought it was a little over 2,000 or a little over 1,000. I can't remember which it was.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe over 1,000.
So the second most popular subject is a prostitute, exotic.
Yeah.
With
She also goes by a name as Ryan. Yeah.
In one of the interviews, you said that she texts you every day.
Every day. She was doing it 20 minutes ago before this call. She's probably texted me during this call.
What prompted that? Do you have any idea?
I think that's her hustle. Most women, most people would have a job, and that's how they support themselves. This woman, I think, supports herself by asking people for money or conning them or extorting them or selling her body, which is what she used to do, or doing whatever the hustle can be to just whatever it'll take to get money from people.
Yeah.
And to me, like most people would listen to that and like, well, then you should avoid that person. But if you look at what my channel is, it's a collection of con artists, liars, addicts, hustlers, crooks, basically ne'er-do-wells, and a pathological liar or con artist, whatever she is, is gold. And that first video, which got 20 something million?
20 million views.
20 million, yeah. She got 5 marriage proposals. She got 5 marriage proposals on that first video. I had a GoFundMe because so many people wanted to donate to her. And then she does present this compelling story where like, oh my God, this poor little angel. She's being exploited by all these pimps and she's on the streets and she's grew up in the foster home, and it's a really heartbreaking story. And she knows how to milk it. And she got like $60,000 worth of donations from my viewers. So we all fell for this girl. Yeah. There was a time early on in that first video where everybody, 100% of the audience the commenters were sympathetic to her story. We all bought it. But then after like the second video, or maybe further down the road, I started seeing comments like, yeah, this is a con artist. This is a pathological liar. This is a psychopath. This is what I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't see it. And then at that point, I was doling out the $6,000 in donations to her because what I have to do, it was donated to her, so I got to give it to her. But I wasn't giving it all in one lump. I was trying to just give it to her in small bits so it would last and she would use it responsibly, hopefully. But you see, you also have to understand how busy I am. I'm shooting all day, every day, so I don't have time to like, oh, let me walk you into a rehab. Let me get you therapy. Let me get you drug counseling and all that kind of stuff. I don't have. I'm one person. I'm just one dude with a camera. That's all I am. So a lot of people complain that you're giving a drug addict cash. And like, yes, I'm guilty of that. I did. But make a long story short, I started like things started looking fishy with what was going on. And I had her up in a room, like a monthly hotel type thing. It was an apartment, but it was through it was a month by month thing. And I was talking with the manager. I'm like, do you see anything fishy going on with the unit that I rented? And she goes, oh yeah, there's this black dude. He looks pretty shady and he's coming in and out of that room all the time. And I'm like, really? Because she's telling me she's there with her kids, even though I've never seen the kids. And just to protect my viewers, I'm like, I don't want this to go really bad. I don't want this to be really embarrassing. So I just went over the apartment. I don't want to bother her, but I knock on the door and there's no answer, and so no one's home. I go back to the manager. I say, can I get an extra key for that unit? I'm just gonna take a peek, make sure there's a crib or whatever there is for kids. And there was it was embarrassing what I saw, but there was no sign of any child.
Yeah,
there was everything you could imagine in that room that would indicate that I was being conned. And so I had to put the brakes on everything, and it kind of fell apart. The whole relationship fell apart quickly. But now it's kind of resurrected. I'm giving her a second chance, and history repeats itself, which my viewers will find out tomorrow on my channel. I'm posting that video tomorrow.
okay.
So it's like the exact story that happened before is happening again, and so makes for good content. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. What has the emotional impact been on you on being exposed?
I don't know. I'm very resilient. I'm very resilient. And it's like hearing 9,000 stories of mostly trauma and drug addiction and just terrible, heartbreaking stories, you would think would affect somebody negatively. And I don't know that it has. I don't know that it has. I also don't know that I listen. I'm not soaking in, absorbing every detail and sitting there crying with everybody. Like I'm getting text while I'm doing the interviews. I'm dealing with the person who's coming next, and then the person who's coming after them, and then this person needs money and this one needs that. And it's like I've got 25 things going on while I'm doing an interview. I'm a one-man band, and it's like it's a lot for me to do. So I'm hustling and just doing I'm like a one-man band doing like 6 things at once. And you're telling me a story. So when you say, so my kids were lost in the foster system, and then 5 minutes later I ask them, do you have kids? I'm like, I told you, like viewers get upset. Said, he told you I had kids at 2 minutes, and now you're asking him if he has kids. So I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. And I'm not an interviewer. I'm a photographer. If you want to criticize my photography, then we have a conversation. But I'm not an interviewer. I don't claim to be an interviewer. I'm a photographer, and I'm throwing up these little video stumbles to help people get a better, a little more in-depth story behind the photograph.
So after having done the 2,000 plus videos that are up and the 9,000 plus interviews you've done,
yeah,
let me ask you your opinions on the impact of upbringing, positive role models, and just the importance of hope. So now I'm going to get you get to wax philosophic here for a second.
Yeah, no, these are the most important things in a human's life. These are the most important things in a human being's life, because Like I had great role models in my life. I had great upbringing. I had support. I had unconditional love. I had just everything a human needs to like thrive in the world. And I didn't become amazing right away, but I worked my ass off. I learned how to work really hard from my dad. And that's important. You turn into your parents. I mean, we turn into our parents, whether we like it or not. It seems. I mean, I'm sure there are some exceptions, but if you look at the decade after decade after decade, it's so often how people who really worked very hard to not become their parents still became their parents. So if that's what's happening with me, I'm proud of that because my parents were pretty great. But if you listen to these stories, you realize how the cycle just continues over and over again. When the mom was on drugs and she wasn't, she was an absent mom and the dad was in prison or the mom was a sex worker or whatever, like, Jesus, it seems so common that the child ends up doing something similar. And in the inner city where they don't see lawyers and doctors and airline pilots and things like that. They don't even see that. They see con artists, they see hustlers, they see thieves, they see drug dealers, they see pimps, they see prostitutes. And we're supposed to expect them to like do something great. It happens, and it's a great story when it does happen. But for the most part, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
So I want to be respectful of your time, but I have one one question before I ask my last question.
Sure.
You were on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
How was that? What was that experience like?
It's great. I mean, like I can talk. If you ask me questions, it's very similar to what we're doing right now. It's almost identical. Joe is a really great conversationalist, as are you. He asks good questions. He's fun to talk to. That's important. Like that's why he's so incredibly popular. Like his podcast is incredibly popular, and he deserves that success because he's just a great conversationalist. I am not. I'm a great photographer.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm trying to do is just take great photographs, and I'm ridiculously putting vertical photographs into a video that's horizontal. Just a stupid idea, but that's what I'm doing, and it seems to be working, and I'm enjoying doing it. But Joe is a great conversationalist. He's become incredibly educated about everything that's going on in the world because of all the people he's bringing in. He's great. He's amazing.
Last question. Where can people find you on the internet? If they wanted to suggest a story, if they had a potential person, how would they reach out to you?
Oh, I see. You send in the homepage of my YouTube channel, there's all the info, but what we say there is to send a video, just a 15-second video, just so I can see what you look like, what you speak like, to make sure you don't mumble. And then a paragraph or two of your story, and you email it to info@softwhiteunderbelly.com, and then Noel and I will go through it, and maybe we'll fly you in or meet you here or meet you there or whatever.
Thank you. I'll be right back.
That's it for this time. If you enjoyed our podcast, please write a review on iTunes and tell your friends to subscribe. If you have any questions about influencers or suggestions for future episodes, email them to John at Pfeiffer@pfeifferlaw.com. Thank you for listening.